Alrighty, welcome back to another video. It is finally time for Soul Exchange again to happen in the public servers for Empires and Puzzles. And well, here are my thoughts about it. Now, I gotta say, this is one of the more disappointing Soul Exchanges that we have gotten over the past 3 years, ever since, well, it's 2.5 years ever since Soul Exchange came out in 2022. I believe it was about February 2022. So this is the 14th edition of Soul Exchange, which means we have done, yeah, 14. This will be, well, lucky number 14 then for Soul Exchange. And we've had some ups and downs when it comes to Soul Exchanges. I think a lot of hopes were riding on this Soul Exchange to have heroes that were, for want of a better word, relevant in the current meta. But that's usually not the case. There's ever since I think the Soul Exchange where Ludwig and Alfreich were in, it became a bit difficult for them. It's became quite rare for relevant heroes in the meta to actually be in Soul Exchange. And I remember the Ludwig one very clearly because Soul Exchange happened exactly on my birthday, 17 November, if I'm not mistaken. And that was when Ludwig and Alfreich were featured, and they were still part of the meta at the time being. Moving forward from that, there was pretty much nothing. I think there was even a Soul Exchange back then. Don't remember which one it was. But there was one Soul Exchange, I think, before this where it was quite disappointing as well. And this one is quite a close second, I believe, because honestly, if you ask me, none of these heroes are actually worth trading heroes for. Um, with much relevance to the current meta. I mean, there's going to be some which will go through, which are, you know, usable, I guess, in the current meta. Uh, but it's quite difficult, I think, as long as you're not the one looking for, emptying some space in your roster to kind of, make use of those hero demands that you have continued pulling, or those classic heroes that you want to just get rid of. There's really nothing much here that would actually help you too much in the game. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these heroes are pretty useful, but if you were to ask me, this is one of the more disappointing Soul Exchanges, and as I go through some of these heroes, you'll understand why. So, as usual, how we do Soul Exchange is that you have to select 10 to 20 heroes in your roster, 5 stars that you would want to trade in, and you can trade in for one of these heroes here. You can see from the tiers, you need either 10, 15, or 20 heroes. And from there, you basically hope that whatever heroes that you trade in is going to be worth the time, and worth the amount of resources that you have spent in order to, exchange for one of these heroes. So we're going to just look quickly at all these heroes right here, and I'm going to, quickly run through some of these heroes. So let's look at the 10 heroes required first. I'm going to start with Voidar. Now, I think Voidar to be, you know, uh, echoing a lot of what the other content creators have, released in their Soul Exchange. I decided not to do a video before the Soul Exchange came out into the public servers because I was really harboring hope that they would change the Soul Exchange options. Well, clearly those were pipe dreams. But yeah, well, here we are. So Voidstar is one of the newest, I would say, in fact, it might be the newest hero um, that is available for Soul Exchange, and it's not a bad one. I mean, uh, an astral elf in Soul Exchange. The fact that they put an astral elf in a Soul Exchange, it clearly meant that people weren't pulling for it when it first came out, because at that time I think Sha Wujing was still really strong in the meta, and it was pretty hard to kind of use Void Star when you already have Sha Wujing, because Sha Wujing gives dodge and Void Star gives defense against special skills instead. Now, the rest of the special skill is kind of similar. You deal a heavy snipe to a target and you heal all allies for 40% of the damage dealt. Now, on paper, this seems really good, but remember, the stats here are only if you double limit break and invest the master emblems on her in order to get these stats. And ideally, you want a more balanced approach to how you want to emblem Void Star, because you want her to survive and at the same time you want her to deal damage as well. But if you look at the 10 hero slot, I would say Void Star is potentially one of the better, or if not the best option to pick, from the 10 hero slot. Um, but personally, it's getting really hard to use a snipe like this when everybody is beefy and if the mega minion meta is still relevant, um, in the current meta. So who knows? Maybe the Mega Minion meta will go off, and then maybe she'll have a bit more relevance. But by then, who knows? The stats might not be relevant then for Void Star. In fact, you might even need a bit more um, boost to to her stats in order for her to actually function. But if you look at the other options, I mean, Gongyu, only good in Rush Wars. Sure, there's a lot of health, sure, there's a lot of mana, but you obviously wouldn't really want to pick someone that's just completely niche to a certain war format, especially when there are much better healers as we go on with the Soul Exchange. Cardinal Ritual would have been nice if not for the Mega Minion meta again, and the Spy Fiends, 30% of the max health is not that much compared to, because you have a lot of healers that are healing for like 40, 50, 60% of a target's the target's health. So it's pretty easy to get rid of the Fiends. And back then, I remember I was having a team myself that was using Cardinal Ritual together with like Brimstone and Gestalt. That was pretty good for the at that time, and then after that he just doesn't deal enough damage, and then he started falling off, and it was actually pretty sad. The Alpha Ether isn't really worth anything as well. Fiend Resist is not so relevant, especially now when it's Mega Fiends that's available. So I'm not really a fan of Cardinal Richelieu as well. Milady the Winter, same problem. I think she was really good. There was a whole meta that surrounded her during the Rush War meta, and then after that it's just stats. The stats just don't function that well. And even now, as a player who is playing not just in the top tier, I even play sometimes even in the mid tier. And sometimes, even in mid tier, I think Milady the Winter just doesn't survive, especially when you're going against mega minions, when you're going against heroes that hit like a truck. Because, bear in mind, even in the mid tiers, you will see a lot of newer heroes that deal a lot more damage. And if you look at this, even with this kind of defense, 1090 defense, it's not going to help you. And bearing in mind, this is again with with Master Emblems. Are you really going to invest Master Emblems on Milady if she's only going to be used on offense? That's something you need to consider as well, because ideally you would want to use your Master Emblems for primarily heroes that are on defense first, to kind of beef up your defense, to have that unity in numbers. Again, concept might be different for different tiers, but yeah, I think defense wise, it's not really a pick that would be nice in this current meta, because she just dies so easily. So if there was a costume that was coming out, if let's say they did spoil in the pipeline that there was going to be a costume for Musketeers, sure, it might be fine to hedge on Milady, but right now, just doesn't really seem like a good choice here. Teddy as well. Ever since the appearance of Kalen, the appearance of Deep Sleep, it's so difficult to use Teddy. Now, He's all right with deals 180% damage to all enemies. That's fine. You put them all to sleep and then you combo him with someone else. Say for example with like Dagger or Spartoy or anyone that hits all. Maybe like Kolya or something like that. But it's just sleep. The sleep mechanic has not really been favorable. Even with Kalen as well. I mean, not many people are using Kalen as well for whether it's defense or offense. I use him because I don't have any other tanks. But yeah, it's just Teddy is just not so good in this kind of in the kind of phase where we are in the game right now. So from the 10 heroes required, I can only justify picking Voidstar, and I think a lot of people are um, expending their resources into picking Voidstar. Um, and I would say Voidstar will be, if you look at it on a whole, maybe Voidstar will be in the easy top three picks that you would consider to pick for Soul Exchange, which is very rare considering that she's 10 heroes required. I think even in the previous Soul Exchange, there was a hero in the 10 hero slot that was actually pretty decent. Mortimer, I think that was the one. Again, another purple. Um, just for the fact that he hits 3 and he silences 3, if I'm not mistaken. So you gain utility. That's what people are looking for when you kind of go through this Soul Exchange. Now, 15 heroes required. There's a bit more. There's a bit more utility for this. There is Aramis. Now, Aramis again, very, very, very dated stats. Not too much damage that he's going to be dealing to the enemies. In which case, this 375% damage doesn't deal as much damage, and because of that, you're not going to get that much health either. The main utility here is that all allies are immune to new status ailments, which is undispellable. This helps you against the Bernadette meta. It does not help you against Fergus, unfortunately. But if you're facing a lot of Bernadettes, then Aramis is a really good one. Now, granted, Aramis is average, which means you need 3 purple matches. And it's going to be a race whether you can get your 3 purple matches or Bernadette fires first. But it's still a good one. I think even in Rush Wars, Aramis will still shine just because of his utility. You're gonna expect him to die most of the time after he fires, but that 3 turns of status ailment immunity, which is undispellable, is what you actually need. So I think Aramis is a pretty decent pick here. Jenna, I do have Jenna. I do have a second copy as well, which I didn't level. Jenna is pretty good for Titans, not so much for offense. Maybe defense, sure. But it's such a pity that the Mask God family came out at the wrong time, and it just kind of it faltered so badly. Just it fell off so badly as well because I mean, look, we had like Jove that came out, right? And then the moment he came out a few months later, he was nerfed to the ground, and you don't see him anymore. Jenna, you don't get a nerf just because she's not really broken, but at the same time, the only time I ever use Jenna is for Titans and in some niche cases when I have to get rid of taunts. Because she can be very good at dealing with taunts, 470% damage to the target twice. It's pretty decent in getting rid of taunts, but that's about it. Sure, you get a negative 44% defense, and remember the reason why she can get rid of the taunt is that your first hit is going to deal 470% damage. Then they get a 44% defense down. Then they get hit with another 470% damage, which will be amplified because of the defense down. So that's why she can get rid of taunts pretty decently. But other than that, there's just no appeal to getting Jenna right now. And even now, as a player who has Jenna, I don't really use her that much apart from Purple Titans. Torbin is, oh my god, like, I mean, Torbin is brilliant if you have this one of the mascots. I think it's I don't remember the raid name. Starts with C. For the love of God, I can't remember. I can't remember what her name was, and I'm gonna try to remember it as I talk about as I talk about Torbin. Torbin is interesting just because it's a strong. it's a strong utility that doesn't really die off until you think about it. There's Quintin, there's Earleaf, and then there's a spoiler alert for someone that's going to be really strong, um, but maybe a little bit slower. I'm not going to spoil anything because I do believe this is part of the beta and I'm not supposed to be releasing beta information if I don't want to get cancelled. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, Torbin is interesting. You will see a lot of Torbin when you're when you're looking at the higher placements for challenge events because as I'm trying to figure out what the heck was the uh, what the heck was the combination? Which mascot hero was it? I don't remember what the mascot hero was. The name still can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember the name. Yeah, but anyways, if you use this um, Torbin together with Carmenta, yes, Carmenta, that was the name. So if you use Torbin together with Carmenta, that's actually really good for challenge events. But for offense in wars, it gets pretty dicey because you're only spreading it to three. You will need a lot of follow-up hit. You need Torbin together with Carmenta, and then you need someone else to kind of like spread off the damage. And remember, the reason why I'm talking about this, it being not as good as like the others like Quintin or Ilif, is because it's only 80%. Now, again, I might be just nitpicking on the numbers, but remember, 80% and 100% damage can mean a lot, especially when it comes to trying to min max and trying to have enough efficiency to kind of get rid of certain heroes. Um, it can be detrimental, this 80%. But as a player who has Irleaf and who has Irleaf Max, by the way, and I don't have Quintin Max, but I do have 2 copies of Quintin. I find it really hard to choose Torbin here, but I would say Torbin, if you don't have Irleaf, if you don't have Quintin, um, I think Torbin is a pretty decent pick. You can sort of like use him together with some other red heroes in the game right now. Like you can use it together with the costume side of Marjana, which deals elemental defense down. You can use him together with any other fast speed or average speed raids that can deal damage to all. It can be pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie, Torben is pretty good. It's just that again, not as dated stats as others, but I would say there's just something that's missing out of him. I think this 200% damage is not going to be that much. Sure, it means that when it's only Torben that's alive, you probably won't be able to deal too much damage to the remaining defense. But I don't know. It's just I feel I'm speaking here from a point where it's actually going to be really hard for you to use Torben in wars if you don't have the right setup. Like sure, you can use Torben with like Pepper Flame, but then it doesn't. So maybe that's the idea, right? You put Torben, you hit Torben on like a wing target, and then you use Pepper Flame on the other side, on the complete left side. So like let's say you put Torben on the left wing against Astrid, and then you use Pepper Flame on the right flank, and then you hope to kill the left wing, which is what I'm trying to do with Irleif as well. Except Irleif almost pretty much guarantees a kill on the left wing. I don't know. I don't have Torben, so I don't have the gameplay about it. But it feels like if you use Torben to kind of target the left wing, there is a chance that even if you combo a couple of skills, it might not be able to kill the uh, it might not be able to kill the target that you put the mark on with Torben. Especially because the defense down, I do believe this defense down doesn't get affected by the damage by this damage the allies receive because it's not a skill damage. I might be wrong. Again, I might be wrong. Uh, I do believe defense down only counts for special skill damage or tile damage, but it doesn't count for any indirect damage that is being channeled to the person to the target. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on that. But if you ask me, I think um, looking at like I'm not even going to talk about Fortuna. Fortuna sucks, by the way. Just don't pick her. And Smart Tongue, you need proper synergy to use Smart Tongue. Um, so how I would run Smart Tongue is I would use Smart Tongue together with like two costume Guan Yus to deal with costume Diao Chan or Moon Bell or something like that. But other than that, it's pretty hard to use her. Um, there is an argument that you can use Smart Tongue together with like any green hit all as well, which can be pretty decent. But the problem with her is that there's too many Garrison Guard heroes around that the Wither doesn't do much, and reducing max health, especially in this current meta where there are not that many health boosters apart from Maisie, Chunky Roy, and um, trying to think of maybe Costume Talasa. Yeah, there's it's pretty difficult to use Smart Tongue. So I would say Smart Tongue in this 15 heroes tier, I would say Torbin is number one, just purely utility, with some caveat that you need some synergy to work with him. Second is Aramis, and then third is Smart Tongue, and the rest I probably won't pick. Yeah, something like that. All right, the 20 heroes required. This is the interesting one. So we can immediately eliminate Mad Hammer because Mad Hammer pretty much is the worst among the five here. Um, a 500% damage snipe that doesn't guarantee another hit, but summons a Black Ball minion that doesn't really do much apart from hitting decently hard. I think it's the weakest among the five here that you're going to be looking at. And I'm gonna start from on fifth place for 20 tier is Matt Hammer. On fourth place, I would say it's Ferris. Now, the reason why I think Ferris is a bit weak right now is one thing is the stats. The second thing is as long as they don't fix the fact that this passive doesn't work against Bernadette, then it's pretty hard to choose Ferris. The only reason why you would pick Ferris if you do not have any other hero that does this negative 60% elemental defense down against nature. If you don't have, like, for example, Archibald, the new one, you don't have Grendel, then you can use Ferris. I do have Ferris and I do use him in my wars, but it's just not that often because it's pretty difficult to synergize as well. The average speed hit trees are not that much. If you think about it, they're not that many average or fast speed hit trees, apart from you're talking about Grendel, you're talking about Archibald, Kolya, and these are pretty difficult heroes to get. So it is difficult to actually synergize Ferris. It can be quite difficult. Um, but other than that, I think he's pretty decent. Negative 60% defense against nature. You can use this for Titans. The sad part is for Mythic Titans, Jormungand is not affected by defense ailments, so you can't even use Ferris for Jormungand. You have to use Ferris for you know, other Titans like Baba Yaga or what's the other one? Or Ignis. Ignis, I think that's the name. Yeah. So, and even then, I think the Mythic Titan meta is pretty much dominated by the fact that you are using Gastile and the purple team anyway. So Ferris, you don't you only have to use him for like Titans, normal Titans, and that's about it. On third place is Guardian Hippo. Now, I have my reservations for Guardian Hippo. First of all, the stats is trash right now. In the game, the stats is completely trash. Like, yes, you can still use him in top flight metas. You can still use him in wars wherever you are. Um, but you need a lot of synergy. Like, I think one of the best synergies would be using Guardian Hippo together with like at least a high defense down hitter, a high elemental defense down hitter, or one of the ways I'm thinking about this is to use for challenge events where you can use Guardian Hippo together with costume. Oh my god, I can't remember the name all of a sudden. I'm so bad at this. Um, Costume Gunnar, the 3-star chain link, soul connected defense down hero. So you can use Guardian Hippo, and then you fire Costume Gunnar, and then you fire Ixin, the Astral Dwarf, and then you fire someone like Costume Perseus, and then you follow it up with another big hitter, and then you pretty much wipe in challenge events. But for wars, it's really difficult. Like um, you are very dependent on Guardian Hippo getting to 7 or 8 tiles. Uh, with I think with a Bard you can get it to 7. Without a Bard, it's 8 tiles. And sometimes getting 8 tiles against like Fergus or Bernadette can be difficult. So it's very hard to synergize, and I find that the stats just make her not able to survive, especially when you're going against the Mega Minions meta. Maybe, I have Guardian Hippo. I have her max double limit break, and after using her once or twice in wars, I stopped using her completely because I just can't find the right synergies. I don't have that kind of synergies heroes to work with her synergistically. So if you have heroes like uh, Costume Perseus, Poffit, some other fast hitters like Frostnout, for example, then sure you can use Guardian Hippo. But other than that, it is pretty difficult to use Guardian Hippo unless you're intending to min max your challenge events team. Then sure, that's something you can consider there. Otherwise, I think she's solidly in like the top in like number 3, and I think the other two that are coming up, I think will be much better. Uh, Number 2 would be Costume Anubis. Now, greed is difficult to use, but greed, when you can set up a greed against a Mega Minion defense, you're taking away the Mega Minions from them. Like if you have, let's say, you look at a scenario where you have Astrid, in that defense order, you have Astrid, a Mega Minion hero, a Mega Minion tank, a Mega Minion hero at flank, and then some random hero on the right wing as well. If you put the greed on the right hand side, on the right wing hero or the left wing hero, those Mega Minion creators will not get their Mega Minions. So that's one way you can use greed. And if you don't have, I believe it's Silverfang. Silverfang is the one with the lasting greed effect, which is way better than this greed because this is only 3 turns. Um, yeah, you can actually try to use Costume Anubis here. The stats are much better, obviously, and with a fighter as well, it's easy uh, to kind of hope for him to survive. The other thing is that with his passive here, you can dispel the latest dispellable buff, and with the costume, it's 100% guaranteed to kind of dispel the buff. So um, it can be interesting to kind of use Anubis. Not only that, remember he does give defense down and he does give poison damage as well to all enemies. So you force the enemies to have 2 cleanses. So it can be bad if they already have a shield Mega Minion where they can cleanse the latest cleansable ailment. So that might be difficult. But other than that, I think greed can be super interesting in the current meta where they're trying to have a lot of Mega Minions or minions that are difficult to get rid of. So yeah, I think Anubis sits pretty cool as the second spot. Again, arguable, but to me, especially being a player who had Anubis when he first came out, who managed to successfully use Anubis in war when he first came out, I think Costume Anubis can and has potential, but not as much potential as which I think is the number 1 pick um, for Soul Exchange, for this particular Soul Exchange, Meg Geary, Opera Family Hero, huge health recovery, status ailment recovery, and it's not just recovery, you distribute it back to the enemies, and then you make them uncleansable. You make all active status ailments on enemies uncleansable, and you get a huge defense boost as well. I think Magiri is the utility hero that you would want to pick in this sort of soul exchange, where again we are basing it off the fact that you don't want to pick any heroes that are that are hitters for soul exchange, just because the hitters that are available on soul exchange gets pretty outdated pretty fast. But utility heroes like Magiri, who can heal, who can cleanse, who can give a huge defense buff, you can use her everywhere. I mean, sure, you won't use her for Titans and challenge events, but for war, there is an argument to use Magiri as a flank, not as a tank, as a flank. And for Magiri, you can even use her as support. I think an average speed support that recovers a lot of health is really good. The fact that she doesn't, she resists defense ailments as well. She gets, health whenever an ailment expires. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent, and I gotta say the stats are still pretty relevant as well. So to my mind, if you have 20 heroes required and you can never have enough healers, Magiri is a solid option. Like, I think hands down the best option that you can pick from the Soul Exchange right now. I would say Magiri number one, number two Torbin, number three Voidstar, number four Guardian Hippo, and then either Guardian Hippo or Costume Anubis, number four and five, and then number six maybe Aramis. Yeah, that is how I would pick it. I would rank them, and even for me as well, if you ask me what I'm going to pick right now, again, remember you have two to 3 days to kind of decide how you want to, who you want to pick for your soul exchange. For me, I'm probably going to pick Megiri. I have tons of yellow ethers. I have a lot of poison darts, so I can max Megiri as soon as I get enough feeders. And she will stay on my defense team for quite some time. I think very good stats, still pretty decent stats, not very good. I mean, decent stats, a large heal. It's exactly what I need to kind of counter, the Mega Minion meta and the Mega Fiend meta. If you look at Mega Fiends take a lot of health recovery to get rid of, and having 60% health is really good here, especially when troops nowadays don't give additional healing bonus. You need this kind of big health gain to get rid of those fiends. So I'm gonna pick Magiri, but I'm gonna give it another couple of days in case I change my mind. I'm actually torn between Magiri or Costume Anubis. One thing is because I don't have a single season 5 costume that I actually want to max, and if I do get Anubis, I am maxing him. The only problem is I don't have purple ethers, so I might not be able to use him in war at all. But Magiri I can definitely use. I do have the ethers for her, and I do have the alphas as well if I want to get her to this particular stats. So I think my advice for everyone: look, everybody's roster is different. And the best that we can do is offer our thoughts on what we think are the best heroes to pick when we're looking at a generic roster. But every roster is unique, every roster is different. There's not going to be a clear cut answer, definitive answer to saying who is the best that you shall pick um, for your roster. So use these 2 days to think about what you are lacking in your roster. The one main thing that a lot of us agree on is that Soul Exchange, it's the heroes that you pick from Soul Exchange will not change the meta, and at the same time, they are not ones that would be shaping the damage dealt in your offense team or defense. Instead, pick utility heroes that will help you cover the gaps in which you are lacking in in your roster. If you need a healer, or if you need someone to deal with mega minions, you need someone to deal with Bernadette, you need someone to have a hitter healer combination. I'm pretty sure everyone's picks on Soul Exchange will be different, and there is no wrong or right. The only way, you know, you can be wrong about Soul Exchange is that if you rush to pick who you want to pick for Soul Exchange. Remember, there's 3 days. Take your time. Don't forget about it, but take your time and think about what is best for your roster. Again, for my choice, I'm definitely picking Matt Geary here. Um, I have, I do have Matt Hammer unleveled. I do have a Hippo maxed. I do have a Ferris maxed. Anubis, I'm sorry. You might need to wait for another time where I can actually get you. Um, but yeah, Torbin, I do have airlift, so I'm not in the business of getting another red. Voidstar, I already have Sha Wu Jing, and I'm not really a fan of Voidstar anyways to begin with. So that's just personally for me. I find Voidstar to be completely lacking, where my purples are uh, the position at which my purple heroes are at. So I definitely won't be picking Voidstar. For me, I'm definitely picking Magiri, but it's completely up to you guys what heroes you're gonna pick from your Soul Exchange. So I'm gonna end this video now. It's taking. Originally wanted to keep it within 30 minutes, but went too far this time. Um, so final words. Yeah, make sure you pick your Soul Exchange. I really would have wanted it to be different. I'm hoping for the 15th edition for Soul Exchange to have much better heroes than what we have right here. Um, and yeah, hope do let me know in the comments which heroes you pick, whether you picked it, and if you're leveling those heroes. I think a lot of people that I've seen pick heroes from Soul Exchange just to empty out their roster, and they don't essentially level them. But I do know a lot of players as well who pick heroes from Soul Exchange, max them out, and use them to their heart's content. So, to you, I shall say good luck in choosing, uh, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. GG.